What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. Today we're going to be talking about a theory that just makes so much sense that I think we may have discovered something very, very huge about the Loki series and the TVA. Now, before we get started, I'm not really going to be talking about too many spoilers for Loki. In fact, if you've only seen the first episode, that should be enough. But still, only minor spoilers, so if you haven't even seen the Loki series, it's probably okay. And thank you to Darkfire Heroes for sponsoring this video. More on them in a bit. But in this video, I will be talking about this new theory that involves time travel, the Avengers, and the TVA. We'll also be connecting this to Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and talking about the next big bad villain, which I know a lot of people are excited for because we really haven't had a big bad yet. The Disney Plus series so far have their own villains, and they might come back, but they're not really massive MCU threats. They're not the big bads. Today, we're going to be talking about a big bad, and how things are about to get really exciting, so let's dive into it. But also, if you want to enter my Marvel chair giveaway, the link is in the description or the pinned comment down below. So this theory, in essence and at its core, is pretty simple. The base theory is that the TVA exists in the quantum realm. Now, this may be a shock to some people, but a lot of people may have already thought about this. If you've already thought about this, stick with me. I'm going to lay out all of the evidence that actually supports this theory. And my theory, as it's been from the very first episode of Loki, is that Kang the Conqueror is actually in charge of the TVA. And as we get more into this, I'll explain how it makes sense. But first, let's start off by talking about the TVA being inside of the quantum realm. After Ant-Man and the Wasp came out, the director of the film told us to look closely at a specific scene when Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym were exiting the quantum realm in their little ship. And we did. We looked closely, and what we found was a little city inside of the quantum realm. Now, they stated that this was going to be a very important part in the future of the MCU. However, we all thought it was referring to Avengers Endgame, and we were wrong. Yes, the Avengers did use the quantum realm to time travel, however, none of them visited a quantum city, which leads us to believe that obviously this city, since they said it was going to play an important part in the future, will appear at some point in time in the MCU. Then, Marvel Studios announced the next Ant-Man film, titled Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So clearly, Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to deeply explore the quantum realm. They also announced the villain of the film is going to be Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. But I believe that we've actually already seen Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror in Loki Episode 1. As I've stated a few times already, I believe that Kang is this middle timekeeper. There's a lot of artwork that has been done that has Jonathan Majors as Kang. And to me, this really looks like Jonathan Majors as Kang, and I'm going to stick with my theory that this is indeed Kang the Conqueror. And I'll finish my video with my theory on this, but we have more evidence that suggests that the TVA is in the quantum realm. But first, please allow me to thank Darkfire Heroes for sponsoring today's video. I play a lot of different games on my phone, but to me, Darkfire Heroes is an RPG that's kind of a step above everybody. Specifically because it's not a wait your turn RPG. It's actually an incredibly fast-paced game, with a lot of different aspects to it, making it to where practically everybody can enjoy it. It's different in the fact that you don't have to wait for your turn. It's real-time power aim. Each character has their own unique special ability. When your hero's ability is fully charged, drag it to the specific spot on the battlefield that you want to use it on. You can also spend your mana and use spell cards to aid your heroes as well. The combination of these makes this game about skill, timing, and precision. And they keep it exciting with over 50 different characters and spells that you can unlock. What's also really cool about it is you can join a guild and compete in tournaments, and they also have monthly live events, making it a game like no other. So click the link down below to download Darkfire Heroes today. So I believe that the city that we saw inside of the quantum realm could be the TVA. As we saw in the very first episode, there is a huge city that is the TVA. Loki claims that it's not real, it's an illusion, but then he claims that he thought that there was no magic in the TVA, and Owen Wilson's character Mobius says there isn't, implying that this is simply a very advanced civilization. And when you have an organization that can time travel, yes, they are definitely way advanced. But I believe this city could be that city that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp in the quantum realm. And here's some solid evidence to back it up. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne states that the quantum realm changes you. We learned that she was in there for 30 years, but it didn't look like she really aged that much. Then in Avengers Endgame, we know that at the very end of Ant-Man and the Wasp in the post-credit scene, Ant-Man got stuck inside of the quantum realm. Now, he was stuck in there for 5 years, but in reality, to him, inside of the quantum realm, it was only 5 minutes to him. And when he's speaking to Natasha and Steve, he explains that time works differently inside of the quantum realm. Then, fast forward to the very first episode of Loki, where Loki is inside of the TVA, him and Mobius go into the elevator together and he asks Mobius how long he's been in the TVA. In which Owen Wilson's character Mobius says, well, it depends. Time works differently in the TVA.
You love to talk. Talky. How long have you been here? I don't know, it's hard to say. You know, time passes differently here in the TVA. What does that mean? You'll catch up.
So Mobius basically said the exact same thing that Ant-Man said. Time works differently in the quantum realm, time works differently in the TVA. And as we've learned from the Ant-Man movies, space and time are believed to be irrelevant in the quantum realm, meaning that it could exist outside of space and time or outside of the sacred timeline that the TVA monitors. Now we know that the TVA exists outside of space and time, that's how they monitor time. So that's even further evidence suggesting that the TVA, that city, is in the quantum realm and could be that city that we saw. Then you take into consideration the fact that the TVA actively time travels to different times. This is exactly what the Avengers did. Now, of course, since the TVA and the Timekeepers apparently exist outside of space and time and actually write time itself, we are led to believe that this organization, the TVA, is probably the most advanced organization inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more advanced than anything we've ever seen. So they are millions of years ahead of the Avengers as far as technology is concerned. So essentially they have mastered time travel a lot better than the Avengers did, and they have their devices that they can use to open portals. However, just because they're a little bit more advanced doesn't mean that they aren't using the quantum realm as a means of transportation. They've just harnessed the quantum realm in a different way. Now, if you consider the fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp showed this quantum city in the past, and if you consider the fact that the next movie is going to be titled Quantumania, where Kang is the main villain, we can definitely see how they are setting all of this up. They've been preparing for Kang for a pretty long time. Now, Kang the Conqueror is the master of time travel. There are many different versions of him. Most of them are bad, but some of them are good, like Iron Lad. But he has traveled to millions of different timelines. He basically controls time, and a theory that we had right after Avengers Endgame is that Kang wasn't going to be too happy about the Avengers traveling through time. It could have messed some things up for him. But what have we learned from Loki? It is the TVA that determines who messes up time, specifically Judge Renslayer, who works for the Timekeepers. However, in the comics, Ravonna Renslayer is the love of Kang the Conqueror. So if you combine that with the fact that one of the Timekeepers actually looks like Kang, you can see how it looks like Kang might actually be in charge of the TVA. Perhaps there are really no Timekeepers at all. Perhaps this is just a trick that Kang is doing so he can control all of the timeline and make it whatever he wants it to be. This would obviously make him a huge villain, a villain who has the power to literally do whatever he wants. He could write the future. And I believe that Kang may have created the TVA as sort of a police for the timeline while he rewrites the future and makes it whatever he wants it to be. Now, will all of this be revealed in the Loki series? I'm not so sure. I do think that if they don't reveal Kang, they are going to severely hint at it. After all, we do know he's coming in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, so it wouldn't really be that big of a surprise. So if he is behind everything, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Now, will they reveal that the TVA is actually in the quantum realm and could be that quantum city? I'm not sure. The city could also be Chronopolis, where Kang lives, but there's no reason why the TVA couldn't be inside of Chronopolis itself. But either way, I do believe that the TVA is in the quantum realm, and I do believe that Kang is that one timekeeper and is in charge of the TVA as well. But we'll have to see. Let me know what you think about this theory in the comments down below. Do you think I'm right? You think I could be wrong? Either way, it's a lot of fun to think about. Don't forget to like this video, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.